Hello and welcome to California Bountiful. I'm your host, Aubrey Aquino. On this show, we feature the people, places, food, and farms that make California so delicious. Right now, I'm in East Los Angeles, where I'm learning about the origins of authentic birria and who was the first to introduce it to the Golden State.
There's about 500 pounds in here. It's actually a stew. It's big chunks of meat. What's unique about it is that you're able to get different cuts. So you got the leg bone, the rib bone, the neck bone, and it's different flavors. There's different textures. There's different, when you eat it, it's just creamier.
Traditional Mexican birria is made using goat and lamb.
So when you pick it up, it literally falls apart. It's different, it's chewy, it's softer. It's a different texture. You know, so we're trying to reintroduce it into the young generations that are coming up. It's much more richer and softer meat than beef is.
Originally a celebratory dish, birria was served at weddings and baptisms before becoming a staple in Mexican cuisine.
This dish goes back, hundreds of years, and is only eaten in once-in-a-lifetime events. For something to become culture, it has to be traditional. And we got a dish that's been around for hundreds of years, I would say, and we want to bring those back to the younger generations so they won't forget what it was or what it meant to their parents or grandparents.
At East LA's Birria Chilillo, they serve the original traditional birria de chifo, that's with goat, and they've been doing it for more than 50 years.
My father brought it in the 1960s. He was part of the Bracero program, where they would bring people in to work in the farms. There was a chef there. He says, "Does anybody here know how to cook?" My dad always says, "I'm a cook, I know how to make birria." So what he would do in the 1960s, he was making birria for the people who worked in the farms. As he was making the birria there in the farms, he noticed that people who were in charge weren't eating it because it's goat. What is that? They had never had it before. And a chef took him under his wing and he tweaked his recipe, made it more pleasing to the eye. It was easier on the eye. He marinated it so it could look red. Now it was easier to eat because before they had no marination on it before. So that's how we brought it into the U.S. back in the 1960s. And then he began selling out of his house.
They're also credited with introducing this dish to Los Angeles and the United States in general.
When the migration patterns were happening from Mexico to the U.S., LA, especially East LA, was ground zero. People would come from LA and then move out to the different regions. So back in the 70s, this was where everybody came to East LA because that's where they were familiar with. People spoke Spanish. We were the first restaurant in LA who sold birria because back then no one sold it. We sold out of our home. And he goes, "Wait a minute, if you were in LA, that means that you were the first in the United States." I go, "You know what, you're probably right. I guess we were the first in the US to serve birria because LA was ground zero for people who were migrating from Mexico here." So that would be a regular dish.
Cooking the meat is a 10-hour process, but it's the consommé that sets it apart.
That broth, that's how you distinguish, that's their fingerprint, so to speak, for every location. So when you have the consommé, you can say, "Oh, this is different." And they're all different. That's what makes every birria unique. So when you have someone's birria, you're going to compare, "Oh, it tastes different." It's the consommé, not necessarily the meat. But there is a difference in the cooking technique. And you would add some cilantro to it. It wasn't a taco back in the day. So people who eat birria traditional, they'll come and get a plate. The younger generations, they'll eat the taco because that's what they were introduced to. So we're trying to get, you had the beef, try the goat. Maybe you'll like it. See how that falls apart. Look at it. We're here, we're promoting the birria. We want people to try it out. We're trying to rekindle that, and bring people back to what birria was originally set out for. So a lot of the new generations have forgotten what the cultural value of this dish is, and it's being forgotten.
Wow, looks delicious.
And before I left, Raul challenged me to a taste test outside with 2 types of birria, the goat and beef.
Okay, number one, the flavor, off the charts. Both really tender.
With beef hitting the mainstream and getting all this attention nationwide, it's actually opened doors for us. Now we have a voice and we can tell people, "Hey, you had that, but you don't know there's a hidden secret." Like you go to a different, like In-N-Out, for example, they have the hidden menu. We have our own hidden, which is the goat. If you never had goat, then you never had birria before. So that's kind of a draw. You try to pull them in that way. So you know what? You had birria, but you haven't had the original. This is the original. That's a good forefront for us, so we can push it out to the people so they can try it out. And people try it out. Most people like it. Some people, we prefer the beef. But, you get a little bit of both, but we're bringing more people into trying out the goat, which is the original traditional birria.
Now time for a bountiful beverage.
At Astrid, we pride ourselves on hyper-seasonal ingredients. Citrus is popping up all over Los Angeles. So the cocktails that we're gonna be making are on the citrus forward side. We have a shaken cocktail that we're gonna be doing. It's a vodka and grapefruit, something that will reel people in, but the grapefruit is being represented by Oro Blanco, which is a variety of grapefruit that is very popular around Los Angeles. It's yellow, it's the juice and the flesh is white. It's very fragrant, a little bit sweeter, not as bitter as like ruby red grapefruits might be. This one is gonna have a little bit of lemon juice, a little bit of grapefruit, and then an Oro Blanco persimmon syrup that we're making here. And then we've got our batch, and in that is Wheatley vodka, a little bit of Quina Quina, which is a French orange liqueur, and elderflower liqueur. This gets 2 ounces of Prosecco on top as well. And then a peel of Oro Blanco, zested over the top.
Coming up, a Long Beach business that's spawning clusters of delicious fungi.
This is a little bit like a teenager, and these are pretty much ready to harvest.
And straight ahead, a thriving homestead in the city.
When gathering materials, be sure to remove all lower leaves.
Plus, DIY on how to create a stunning flower jar with backyard blooms.
California Bountiful is brought to you by the California Farm Bureau.
You know, Nationwide is so much more than a great insurance company. They're one of America's largest financial services companies, too. Just like I'm so much more than quarterback Peyton Manning. I'm also debating Manning. And honestly, this might be my best sport.
I would argue that it's not.
I think it might be.
No, it's not.
Is to.
Is not.
Is to.
Is not.
Is to times infinity, no takebacks.
You can't do no takebacks.
That's debatable. For your insurance and financial needs, Nationwide is on your side.
Join me, Gary Sack, on the Voice of California Agriculture podcast, an insightful look into what's happening in the world of agriculture, from how crops and farmers are faring to legislative and regulatory issues, plus other farm and food news. It's our time to talk about all of it. What are the implications of foreign investment in the U.S. farmland? Find us today at Apple Podcast, Spotify, and California Farm Bureau's website, the Voice of California Agriculture podcast, where California agriculture speaks.
When you choose California grown, you're a part of something good. Sound too good to be true? Not at all. It sounds responsible. We lead the nation in sustainable measures, plus some of the highest worker pay and protections. It sounds diverse, with 400 plus specialty crops produced statewide. And it sounds fresh because it was grown right here. Learn more at californiagrown.org.
Hey everybody, this home-turned-homestead has become a model for urban sustainability in the city, and they've been doing it since 1985.
This is my family farm. This is where I grew up.
Hey guys. Hello.
It's very near and dear to my heart. It's become quite a movement where people see it as a vision for the cities in the future.
The urban homestead in Pasadena is preserving a homegrown way of life.
Well, we're trying to live self-sufficient in an urban setting. We have solar panels on the garage, we've got gray water, and various stages of self-sufficiency and trying to live off the land indirectly or directly. We grow a lot of this red vein sorrel. This one we can sell for like 25 cents a leaf.
A home-turned homestead, the family farm sprouted up organically in the mid-'80s and has been growing ever since, now kept up by siblings who are carrying on their father's legacy.
My father sort of started the following the back to the land movement. He wanted to get back to the land, know where his food came from, sort of like the hippie lifestyle, but without all the other extra. We did it for the family. We love planting, we love gardening, we love doing the experiment sustainability.
Me and my dad planted that, and then it either grew too well or didn't grow well enough, or we couldn't sell it. Unfortunately, if it doesn't make any money, it's like, you gotta go.
My dad smothered the front lawn and turned it into an edible garden, so that was even more forefront. And he's just like, this lawn, it's costing me too much time. And then he started growing in the front yard. So we did it out of what we wanted to do, and then it grew from there. So it kind of happened organically. We didn't set out to do it, but it happened that way.
Here, they use a hands-on approach to educating others about farming and food systems.
Last year, we had over 1,000 to 2,000 kids come through here, students come here. They come here for like a hands-on sensory farm tour. We have the kids smell something, taste something, cuddle a chicken. And so they get this, farm experience, and they love it. They just get so amazed. And the feedback I get from it is just overwhelming, that kids want to go back and they don't want to leave. I know I joke, I was like 99% probably won't be farmers, but they'll remember visiting our farms and all the fun things. And we're just all about education, know where your food comes from.
They're also innovating ways to blend traditional farm practices with modern sustainability goals.
To stay in business and economic or financial things, you have to adapt. We're surrounded on 3 sides by concrete and schools, and it's a challenge, but it also teaches us to maximize the space. We've been doing it our whole life. Sometimes I have to tell myself, other people didn't grow up like this. Most farms, the soil's depleted after 40 years. After 40 years, our soil is better than when we started. And somebody said, what's your fertilizer program? I have none. What's our pesticide program? I have none. The reason you do that is something is wrong.
And there's a commitment to fostering a connection between people and their food sources.
And it's more about understanding all the nuances that is related to our food system. We have plants, but also we have, as a nation, we eat a lot of animals. And just trying to, connect that element with the students, hey, this is something we have to kind of consider, how we treat the animals. What do we feed the animals? If we do consume them, how do we do it, holistically and respectfully? And then it also goes into a social and environmental justice as well, because the way we as a nation treat our animals, also we treat the people that are taking care of the animals. So there is I call it, once you pull that thread, you'll kind of start unraveling our food supply.
This is Cookie.
With her muddy face. Getting people to understand that it's not a vending machine. Living creatures are not vending machines. You're not really supposed to expect, give me something. When we expect things from the land, when we expect things from the environment, when we expect things from animals, that's when we kind of upset the balance. And even with plants, even with the environment around us and animals particularly, what they give us should be considered gifts and not requirements.
For this family, cultivating food in community is at the forefront, and they're hoping to inspire others by sharing their journey.
So if an acre is $1, we're only growing on 10 cents, and just in terms of scoping. We pack a lot in a little, so that's where we're known for. It's just a lot of biodiversity, a lot of, we call it regenerative farming. Everything is compact, versatile, stacking, multi-storied, interplanting. So it is giving our community a space for them to just, unwind and just enjoy. I mean, in the springtime, this place is just incredible, and it's just mind-blowing how just this little place can have so much things. We're offering them a sanctuary, and it makes me just really happy to see that, in the city, that we provided a beautiful place for them.
Now, your bountiful landscapes.
Hi, California flower fans. Today, let's create an elegant flower jar that feels like it leapt out of your garden. Start by sourcing locally for the freshest botanicals, ideally from your own backyard, or ask a neighbor for some greenery. When gathering materials, be sure to remove all lower leaves. Oh, this Australian mint smells amazing! We also have some daffodils, hyacinth, stock, German statice, and some honeysuckle to add an airy touch. Fill your jar with water and add a floral food packet to help keep your flowers fed. Now let's build our arrangement. Start with a few stems of flowers and greenery placed in your hand, creating a V shape, and gently clamp over with your thumb like a clothespin. Continue to add blooms and filler at a 45-degree angle and turn your bouquet with each addition to achieve a spiral shape. Now when you're ready to cut the bouquet, do so about an inch below your wrist, allowing for a neat fit into your jar. Adjust the arrangement as needed, pulling blooms outward to allow them to relax and adding in a few airy elements. Now enjoy your stunning flower jar. I'm Charmaine Turbo, head farmette here at Turbo Farms. Thanks for joining me today for this speedy tutorial. You can watch our full video in more detail on the Turbo Farms YouTube channel. Californians, have a bountiful day.
Still to come, we get a little mushy and share the story behind this SoCal mushroom farm.
At this stage, they'll start growing really fast. They'll double in size every day.
And just ahead, a Malibu farm with a few thorns in it.
Did you know Nationwide is so much more than a great insurance company? They're one of America's largest financial services companies, too. Just like I'm so much more than quarterback Peyton Manning. I'm also Peyton Manning.
It's lovely, Peyton.
Did you say Peyton or Peyton?
Peyton.
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 Great work.
Thank you. For your insurance and financial needs, Peyton, Nationwide is on your side.
The California Farm Bureau has protected the diverse agricultural interests in the Golden State for over a century. As part of the California Farm Bureau, you'll add your voice to the combined strength of over 34,000 farmers, ranchers, and families through our state. That means more connections, more influence, and more opportunity to fight for the issues that impact your life. With your support behind us, California Farm Bureau's robust government affairs, federal policy and farm pack, and legal teams work tirelessly to advocate at all levels of government, protecting and promoting our shared way of life. Together, California Farm Bureau and our members are standing up for farmers, ranchers, and families throughout the Golden State every day, working to cultivate a bountiful future for all Californians.
California Grown Spotlight.
There's an old joke about an old farmer who won the lottery in Tennessee, won $2 million, and everybody ran out to his house and said, "Joe, what are you going to do now that you won the lottery and $2 million?" And he goes, "I guess I'll just keep farming until I run out of money." I was born into it, and it's in my blood. When my dad came out here in 1947, Malibu only had about 200 residents, or 300 residents at the most. And so we farmed all over. He farmed from Topanga all the way to County Line, and hundreds and hundreds of acres. And now we're down to about 25 acres, some of which we control and some of which is our neighbors who let us farm on their land very graciously. I'm the only guy that I know of that grows about $70,000 worth of vegetables on about $80 million worth of real estate. We grow citrus. We grow about 4 different kinds of oranges. We grow lemons. We grow avocados. We grow strawberries, blueberries, blackberries, and we grow like 6 kinds of lettuces, 3 or 4 different kinds of carrots, cabbages, broccoli, cauliflower, spinach, melons, about 5 different kinds of melons, sweet corn, all kinds of squashes, zucchini squash, yellow crookneck squash. I know there's more, but I can't think of them. We kept this thing going all during when my children were little, just because I wanted them to have the feeling of, growing stuff and knowing what that was like, and, working and picking strawberries. But I gave them just enough of it so that they know they don't want to do it. One of them is getting his MBA at Berkeley, and then my daughter just is finishing up her master's degree in Sacramento to be a psychologist. We don't dare retire. We've got so many friends that come every Saturday, and we actually shut down in December, and they got angry with us because because they couldn't come over here on Saturday mornings. They're so used to coming over here that it upset them. It's unbelievable. I mean, we have people who come here and sit down and stay for an hour, hour and a half. They just want to just be here. They just want to be, and they want to talk to the farmer. It's like all of a sudden farmers have become important, you know, and for the longest time, I don't think anybody even had a second thought about it, you know. Farming it's an art, it's a science. If the farmer is growing it, if he's plowing the field, and if he's planting it and taking care of it, and he's picking it, and then he's bringing it into the farm stand, that's a lot of work and a lot of effort, and it should be supported not just for the sake of the farmer, but for the sake of getting something that's fresh, clean, local, and to diversify, you know, food sources.
Up next, cultivating mushrooms from spore to harvest.
Most chefs take the blue oyster mushroom. They're probably the cleanest tasting mushroom we have.
California Bountiful returns after the break.
Nationwide is so much more than a great insurance company. They're one of America's largest financial services companies. Like how I'm more than Peyton Manning. I'm also Calculating Manning. Yep, math checks out.
Are you looking to uncover more of the bounty of California's rich, diverse, and delicious food and wine scene? Then it's time to get social with us. Find even more great content from farm to fork and everything in between, like recipes, behind the scenes, on food and wine tours, plus useful info on what's good for you and so much more. Join an engaging community of like-minded foodies and tell us what great story ideas you have for us, too. So what are you waiting for? Get in on the conversation now. Find, follow, and talk to us on social at CA Bountiful.
Yeah, I know. Wait, I don't know. Yeah, you just stand down. Look at that. It's so sad. That's good. Here, put that over.
Growing food where it's eaten. That's a big part of the philosophy behind this mushroom farm. They're family owned and operated, farm to table, table to soul.
We are at Long Beach Mushrooms. It's our mushroom farm in Long Beach, California. We grow a lot of mushrooms to service our community. We do about 1,000 pounds a week.
Once just a small home operation, Justin and his wife Mia began growing mushrooms out of buckets in their garage.
We had our own awakening of, like, we're not connected to our food. And that was kind of the moment that sparked, like, we don't really know where our food comes from and who controls it, you know? And then we started really growing a lot of food at our home. So our whole front yard's a garden, backyard's a garden. We had backyard chickens. What can I grow in my garage was the question that I asked. And I saw a lot of people were growing mushrooms in their garage.
Fast forward to today, the operation has literally mushroomed right before their eyes.
In our 5,000 square foot building, we can grow 1,000 pounds of food a week. That's crazy.
Now their hyper-local blooms regularly go out to chefs and restaurants along with an entire community.
This room we grow, I don't know, usually like 5 to 6 different varieties. So we have pinks, golds, chestnuts, elms in here right now. So the reason why we grow mushrooms in Long Beach is because we want to welcome people into this space. We want, you know, part of our mission is to empower our community to reclaim ownership over their food. And what better way to do it than to, like, you know, see where their food's grown, talk to the person who grows it, build a relationship with that person.
A food journey that's come full circle.
My family's from Vietnam, and in my household, there was a time where we had, like, I think it was around 12 to 14 people in our house. My parents sponsored a lot of our family from Vietnam over, and they brought over their culture. So my whole backyard, they started planting stuff. And there's crops everywhere, you know, Vietnamese mint, and, you know, they're growing watermelons and all this stuff, making their own tofu. And as a kid, I actually, like, kind of resented it because I didn't want to invite my friends over. I thought it was weird. And I didn't want people to see, like, the stuff that we're doing in our backyard. So there's a long period of my life where I was not a farmer and really far from it. It's been probably one of the most difficult things I've done in my life. There's a point where I was ready to quit. The debt has stacked high. I wasn't bringing $1 into our family income. There's a lot of stress. Like where we're at today is from the bumps and bruises that we took early on. And and now it's really fun because I get to teach other people how to do it too. A lot of gold oyster mushrooms up here that are just starting. They're just starting to pin out.
Previously in education, working with kids in Compton, Justin's entrepreneurial spirit is purpose-driven.
The old school that I worked at, I got to chaperone a trip, and the students were so connected right away to where the trip that I chaperoned was to a regenerative farm. So the kids loved it. They loved learning how to compost, learning how to plant, harvesting, eating that food for their, eating and cooking that food for their meals. And they all wanted to start gardens when they got home, but when they got home, they couldn't because, like, really quickly they were slapped in the face with the reality of life, and that's, security. They had to worry about their security, their safety. Where did money come from? Things like that. So that's when we were like, we need to start a business in the city, growing food, and we need to prove to these students that we can make money doing this so that, that feeling, we can capture it, but also fulfill some of their other needs. These are blue oyster mushrooms. These are probably the most chefs take the blue oyster mushroom. They're probably the cleanest tasting mushroom we have. We had a chef who would fry them whole and people would think like they're eating like a chicken drumstick because it's so meaty, like the way that it shreds apart.
It's a sustainable goal where commitment to community is central to their farming practices.
One of our mottos here is like be the beacon. The whole point of going to a farmer's market is to know the farmer. So we tell our staff when you go out there, you are the beacons. Like, attract people to you. Tell them about what we do. Make sure get your energy up and have it be a good experience for them, because when I have a good experience with the farmer, I bring that produce home, put it in my fridge, and I remember the experience. I can literally come in this morning and that's about to turn on. Forget about that. We do everything here. We save spore to fruit. It's important to us. We believe consuming food is one of the most spiritual things we can do. Really putting a piece of the world into us and it becomes us. And doing everything from beginning to end has, definitely has its challenges and its risks, but we also get to have a lot more fun and grow things that other people aren't growing and experiment. And I believe that joy and that passion translates to the end plate when people eat something. Yeah.
Well, that's going to do it for this episode of California Bountiful featuring LA County. We hope you've enjoyed watching. Until next time, you can find us online at californiabountiful.com. Take care and have a great week.